Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Hands and I am a construction engineer here in the UK. I wanted to firstly thank Global Sources for inviting me to do this talk today. It's very exciting and I'm very happy to speak to all of you out there across the globe. Just to give you a little bit of an intro into who I am and where I come from and my interests. So, like I said, my name is Michelle and I've been a construction engineer for over 15 years now in the UK. In the last 5 years, I've been documenting my journey on site and being trapped kind of in a man's world of construction via social media. And this has led to several different opportunities in different fields. And I guess I've become a little bit of what they like to call in this modern day, a influencer. So you can catch me on Instagram where I talk about my construction work, but I also talk about little renovation projects that I have going on, work that I'm doing at home, and female empowerment. And again, I have a YouTube channel where I produce videos and I talk about my work and things outside of work that also interest me. In the last couple of years, I've also started to move into public speaking to discuss my journey, both online and within the construction world. Now, Global Sources reached out to me today because I'm guessing they saw some of my videos about working from home and how the world today has changed in the last couple of months, and I discuss how we need to adapt to be able to work from home and also how we can create an environment that you want to work in. So let's just touch on that. COVID-19, everyone across the globe has been affected by this. And for example, this is why we're doing today's video online. Now, when COVID first hit off, obviously my day job is working outside in construction. And instantly that came to a halt. And everyone was told to work from home. So what does that mean and how has that changed our lives? Well, for me in particular, it meant that I had to look at my home environment and think, do I have an environment where I can actually sit down and work, first instance, secondly, be creative, and thirdly, be productive. So with these three elements in mind, I looked at kind of like the working space that I'd got and figured out that it actually wasn't going to work for me. So that's what today's subject is going to be on, and I'm going to be chatting to you guys a little bit about what we can do to create a great working environment and what I've done, and hopefully help you out, and then at the end I will answer any questions that you have for me. So the first challenge when thinking about working at home was, where am I going to work? I've got quite a busy household. My husband was also told that he needed to work from home, and we have a 2-year-old toddler. I'm also pregnant, quite heavily pregnant right now. So I had all of these things to consider. But the main thing initially was looking at space. So space within my own household where I could set up and would want to work and feel like it would become a new working environment. I'm used to working outside and working in lots of different offices, and then I also have an office in the city centre where I live, which was again unusable. So I landed on, quite luckily for me, I have a spare room in my house. And this spare room admittedly became a bit of a dumping ground. It was a study, but there seems to be a lot of things in there and it just wasn't conducive to work. So this got me thinking, how could I create a workspace where I could come and be productive and I'd want to work and also make videos, which is the creative side of my job. And the first step was to clean out the area, so start from fresh. And this doesn't mean throwing out everything that you have in your room. It just means clearing out a lot of the stuff that you know you're not going to use and put that away so that you kind of have a clean slate to start off. And then secondly, I started to think of ideas, so I didn't rush into anything. I sat down, went through some like Pinterest boards, looked at office studies, looked at backgrounds, what might look good. Because a really important thing to mention here is a lot of people now are starting to work from home and they're doing Zoom meetings, like Zoom, and then you've got your socials, your Instagram, everything seems to have just shifted completely online. And the thing with online, as we all know, is a little bit different from normal life. And you kind of want to have this, well, for me anyway, I wanted to have this setup that differentiated so that people knew that when I was on Zoom chat that I was, ready for work. One of the things that I think is really interesting right now is we're seeing a lot of media being produced for TV and international broadcasting via devices that you can use at home and setups that are used at home. And this is really interesting because you see a variety of different backgrounds that people use when they're filming, and you kind of are given an insight into someone else's world beyond their normal working life. What do I mean by this? Well, for example, there's a very famous video of a news presenter, I think actually it was before COVID, who was doing a live report for the BBC, and his children came in the back and his wife came in the back and then pulled them out, and it was hilarious. It went viral all over the world. But for me, what was important is that you got to see into that person's home life. And I think this is an important decision that we kind of have to make as content creators and as business owners, is do you really want the outside world to be let into your house? And what do I mean by that? Well, are you using personal pictures in the background? Do you have a bookshelf where there are a lot of books and people can kind of like look into them and see what kind of books you like reading? It's how much of yourself you really want to give across. And this is really interesting because you're doing it within a screen and a simple background. Some people might not consider this and they just set up a camera somewhere in the house and they think, you know, I'll just shoot this video, everyone's kind of looking at me. But actually, no, I think it's interesting. I think a lot of people are looking behind the speaker, seeing what's in the background and getting a little bit of your personality. And by setting up a decent background or a working environment, you can really show your personality to your audience. So that's the first thing, is consider Zoom, consider like Skype if you're using Skype, and think about setting up a certain area within your space that you've chosen that you don't mind filming within. Now you can get backgrounds. Lots of companies now are using backgrounds on Zoom, so it blocks out anything that you have at home, and it's pretty generic. To be honest with you, I think everybody wants to see a little bit of personality, so I don't think there's any harm in you designing like a small little background for you to film against. Like I say, I took up my inspiration from Pinterest. As you can see behind me, my setup is really simple. Just a little light and a nice little picture there in the background. Doesn't say too much about me, but also there's not a bunch of family pictures. It's not too heavy on the eyes, and hopefully you're just kind of focusing on me. This brings me nicely onto lighting, the most important thing for kind of not only when you're working and not doing Zoom, but also when you are on Zoom or Windows Meet, I think it's called, and Skype. I have here a huge light, which I will show you. That's what it looks like. And lighting is really important. So if you set up a camera or your laptop in a very poorly lit area and you're doing a Zoom meeting, it's going to be really hard for that person to kind of concentrate on you because the lighting is poor. Also, lighting can have a major effect on your skin tone, and you can create your own little home studio. Now, not everybody wants to go into the expense of buying a big expensive light for a Zoom meeting. But think about this, if you're doing Zoom meetings every week for the next 6 to 12 months at home, and you know you're going to be working at home, you might want to invest a little bit of money in your setup and have a nice light. It is nice to look back at footage and see how much of an effect lighting has. So that's an interesting concept. I always say think about light. You can get the same effect by just placing your camera or your laptop by a window. And it's the same when you're setting up a desk. You know, natural light is amazing for everybody. You feel much better when you work with natural light rather than a dark office environment with a manufactured light. So yeah, if you've got an area of a room that is close to a window and you can use natural light, go ahead and make use of that. I think it's really important. Now, moving away from kind of like Zoom and that setup and just thinking about your general workspace. Like I said, I have a small office here. I try and keep it tidy and clean. I used Pinterest for some inspiration, and I can now just quickly show you a little bit of a montage of my office setup. Here we go. Okay, so I'm technically not a designer, but I think it just shows that anyone that doesn't have any experience can still do this. Like I said, I took a lot of inspiration from Pinterest and the internet, created like a little pin board, figured out what I liked, had some small things that I had to buy, such as just shelving and picture frames, and this setup was pretty much done in a day. And the office has been the same for the past 3 months, and I've used it throughout the whole kind of COVID period to record videos, to do Zoom, and to work. I wanted a place that I could come and be productive, so that meant clearing out a lot of the clutter, and also a place that I wanted to come and work. Simple little things like placing some plants on your desk can really make a difference, can make you feel like you come into an environment that is creative and feels nice to be in. Now, there might be a lot of you out there who don't have an extra space within the house and you have to work from a kitchen table, and that is absolutely fine too. But maybe think about setting up 10 minutes or 20 minutes before your work day and creating a nice environment on that workspace, clearing everything up. Put a plant pot there, maybe put a pen pot, get your coffee ready, and turn off any distractions, and just set up a nice working space for the whole day. And I swear this will change your mindset and also help with productivity. This brings me nicely onto setting up different spaces. So you might do a Zoom meeting, you want to get a bit more creative, you may be thinking that people are sick of the background that they can see, so you can look at different areas in your house. You don't have to conform or be isolated to a study or an office. You could use your lounge or your living area, give it a tidy up, set up a camera, and using different spaces within the household can really help. Sometimes I kind of get sick of being in one place, so it's nice to think, right, tomorrow I'm going to plan and I'm going to work in my lounge and I'm going to do a video setup in there, or I'm going to work in my kitchen at my kitchen table. So don't be afraid to use different areas within your household as well. This is also going to help with creativity. I think one thing that I've struggled with, and I know a lot of other creators have struggled with, is being creative when you're in lockdown. Artists take inspiration from being outside, connecting with people. I'm a very social person, both in my work life and my creative life. And so that's really, it's caused a little bit of anxiety, and it's something that I've really struggled with. Finding things that make me become creative during the day. And this is where I'm going to move on to, mixing things up. Maybe film outside, go for a walk, find something that can give you inspiration, because it can be incredibly hard when you are isolated. This, comes into an area that I'm not too knowledgeable about, but have tried to implement during COVID-19, which is like just getting out the house for a certain time, and that comes down to productivity within your workspace. If you can set a timer on your desktop to say, okay, at 12 o'clock I'm going to have my lunch, but at 9:30 in the morning I'm going to go out and have a walk. I think this is really important. So having structure and building structure into the environment that you've got is really important for maintaining kind of a mental stable state. So because everything has changed and people are having to adapt to this new world, I'm now looking forward and thinking that this situation could potentially happen again. And for me, as a content creator and someone who needs to work at home and produce at home and be creative, I have made the next decision, which is to invest in my home workspace. And I recently decided to partition off half of my garage area at home and create a separate office outside of the house in my garden. So I'm excited. I'm just going to quickly show you guys exactly what that is. It's not finished, it's a blank canvas, but it's something that I've planned. I've obviously had to fund, but I think it has longevity, and for me it's going to work in the future. It means that I can physically remove my work life from my home life, because even though I'm only like 5 meters away from the house, I'm actually outside. So I'm really excited to show you guys. Let's take a look. Okay, so there was a fair bit of planning that went into this. I planned out the measurements for the garage, so it's directly split in half. I've currently been, like I did before with the home office, looking at Pinterest and ideas and looking at creators on YouTube and seeing how they set up their studios. The space needs to be conducive for filming and for working. Both myself and my husband, he's a university lecturer, so it's really important that he has a quiet space and a nice desk setup. So I'm back to square one and thinking about backgrounds, thinking about how I can get the most out of the space by having lots of different areas that I can film and work in. It's relatively small. I think it's 5 meters by 2.5 meters. So it's not a huge area, but it is amazing how much you can get out of a space if you just think about it and pre-plan it. So for any of you out there that are thinking long term that you potentially may be working from home, it might be something that you consider investing in a home workspace. It might be something that the business you work for will support you with, and it's just another option. I guess it's the step up from using your home environment, and if you have the ability to do that, it's super exciting. You're basically starting from scratch and you get to create a nice working environment for yourself. One of the things that you can do, obviously, during lockdown now is a lot of people are shopping online. And this is great because you can order things for your new office space and have them delivered the next day. You can find a lot of inspiration online, like I said previously, and slowly build up to what it is that you want to create. You know, you don't have to go out there and buy everything for an office space and get everything set up immediately. Maybe work on one small area and then build things up until you have a space that I guess is complete and you love working from. So just to sum up today, thanks everybody for listening. Just get creative. Go on the internet, create little Pinterest boards, mood boards online. Think about the working environment that you want to be in and start creating. And think about Zoom, think about Instagram, think about the way everything's moving, TikTok even. Everyone is getting creative. So even if you're a business owner, you know, you don't have to sit in a suit and tie and have a professional working background. You have to do what feels right for you. And I think the more creative you can get, the better it will be. People will notice you and you're going to stick out more. People are going to remember you. First impressions are everything. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability at the moment to sit down and have a coffee with someone and create that relationship. It's all being done online. So you have to think about everything that goes on around you and not just you and how you're talking to someone. This means rethinking your workplace within the home and getting excited by what you're doing. Like I said, using tools like Pinterest, mood boards, finding inspiration on lots of different websites, sourcing little things to go in your office like pot plants and lights and picture frames, and then thinking about the long term. How much is this going to affect you, this situation, moving forwards? Have you been told that you're going to be working from home? And if so, think about adapting over the next 6 to 12 months. There you go. There's an insight into my world and what I've been doing over the last 3 or 4 months and how it's helped me creatively be able to, output videos and also talk to clients. I do work with brands and produce videos for them in and around female empowerment and engineering and product reviews. So all of this world that has come about has thrown me a little upside down as well, and that's really interesting for me to talk about with you guys today. You can follow my journey and I will be talking about how the home office is coming along, and eventually I'm hoping in around about a month's time that will be ready to go. And if you guys are interested, you can check me out on social media. I think there'll be some links down in the description of my bio. Like I say, I make YouTube videos. I'm on Instagram. I have a podcast where I interview women that are in construction and in other areas of fields that are typically male dominated. As a content creator, you can ask me any questions that you like, or even in the business world. I run my own engineering firm, which is part-time. So yeah, feel free to fire any questions at me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Like I wanted to say, thank you very much to Global Sources for inviting me today to talk to everybody. It's super exciting to be involved in this new movement of talks moving online and being able to reach an international audience. So thank you very much, and I hope this video has provided you with some useful information and has sparked a creative brain cell and gets you working on your home office environment. Thanks everyone for listening, and it's been a pleasure. I look forward to answering your questions.